We'll wait. We'll go ahead and wait a minute. We're still missing our county representative, so.
So while we're waiting, Chair Cooper, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Have we been sending the email invite out to Holly Smith, because she was the council member that I was inviting to take my place on the RHC? And if she's here to speak, I heard her name mentioned. Perhaps we could elevate her to a panelist and have her join the group.
I can elevate her right now.
Oh, that's the person who signed up for the 5th. Okay, there you go. That makes that easy.
Thank you for catching that, JW.
Good catch, JW.
Unless there's two Holly Smiths.
That's
Maybe.
possible.
We'll
It'll
find
be
out.
exciting to find out.
We will
Yes.
find out in a minute, won't we? Okay, and just for the members of the public that are on, we are waiting just a moment because we are missing one member. Actually, are they coming out of a county meeting, Tom? Because
Probably, but I don't know what they've been doing budget deliberations this week. I don't know what their schedule is today.
okay. Well, you said Romero was out, so that's the other one. So
Well, he's out at beginning and the end of this week. So Ramiro is here today.
okay. Well, I'll just wait one more minute on the time, and then we'll go ahead and start with introductions because we have a pretty decent agenda this evening. There's Holly Smith. Welcome.
Hi, Holly.
JW is going to introduce you when we do introductions in just a minute.
I just got word that both Commissioner Mejia and Ramiro are finishing up a budget session right now.
Okay. I got word that Darian would be here, but I don't see anyone from Olympia staff. Oh, there's Carrie. Perfect time. Look at that. Say the name and they shall show up.
Would you like Darian to be elevated to panelist?
Yes, please. And you said they were on their way, Keely?
The language I got was finishing up budget session.
Okay, let's go ahead and get going because I said I would. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday, October 27th meeting of the Thurston Regional Housing Council. Thanks for being here. Let's go ahead and do some introductions for the record, and then we can jump into our agenda for the evening. So let me go ahead and start with the City of Tumwater. Michael, can you introduce the folks that you have on the meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Michael Althauser, Tumwater City Council, and I am joined by our Mayor Pro Tem Joan Cathy, as well as Brad Medrud from our Planning Department.
I just came from my Mensa meeting.
Welcome. We have all the smart people in Thurston County on the call.
I missed
tonight.
one. Our City Administrator, John Doan, is on the call as well.
Right on.
Good.
Welcome, Tumwater. Let's go to Yelm. JW, tell us who you have.
That's right. Let's go to Yelm. That's a great thing to say. So I'm JW Foster, presently the mayor of Yelm, but my term is short. And so I have asked Council Member Holly Smith to sit in on the RHC and see if it's a good fit. She is up for election to the appointed position that she's serving in right now. And I'll let her introduce herself further. Holly?
Thank you. So yes, I am currently on the city council and I'm up for election, just like he said, and I'm excited to see what this is all about.
Great. Welcome, Holly. It's good to have you. Okay, so let's go to Lacey. Carolyn, tell us who is all on from the great city of Lacey.
All righty. Carolyn Cox, Lacey City Council member. I'm joined by the alternate from Lacey, Councilmember Lenny Greenstein, as well as Rick Walk, who is our Community and Economic Development Director, and the fabulous Kelly Adams, who runs the whole show here.
Right on. Thank you, Lacey. Welcome. Okay, so next I'm going to go to Thurston County and go to Carolina. Can you tell us who's on from Thurston County?
Yes, hello, I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the Thurston County Commissioner for District 1. Today I am joined by our awesome staff members, Keely Marino and Tom Webster, as well as Jacinda Stelgis, our Director of Public Health and Social Services, Shelley Slaughter. And Ramiro will be joining us soon, and he's our county manager. I don't think I missed anyone, but.
I think you got it. Good job. Thank you.
I missed somebody, Jim.
Okay, go ahead.
City Manager Scott Spence is on the call. So
good to see you, Scott, and welcome Thurston County as well. So let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and I see Romero coming in, so I'll say welcome to Romero Chavez as we move to the Olympia introductions. So from the city of Olympia, I'm Jim Cooper, council member. We have council member Danny Madrone, and we have Carrie Retland, our home fund manager. And Carrie has some news to share with us and a new staff member that will be joining us for a little while. So Carrie, why don't you go ahead and tell us what's up with you and also introduce Darian.
Thank you, Chair Cooper. Carrie Retland, City of Olympia Home Fund Manager. I'm excited to introduce Darian Lightfoot, who will be helping staff this in the interim while Olympia does a search for a new home fund manager. I shared with the city recently that I'll be leaving to move to a new position at the state. And I'm not going far. My office will only be a few blocks from City Hall. So I'm looking forward to continuing to work with all of you in that new role. Cities, counties around the state related to housing, homelessness, and other social services that State Department of Commerce is involved with.
Well, welcome, Darian. It will be great to have you interact with the Regional Housing Council. And Carrie, we are going to miss you, sir. Thank you so much for all of the work you've done around the region. I know everyone on this call is grateful for the work that you've done, and we're going to miss you, but we also know you're not going far, and you never know what's going to happen in this town. So
thank you. And you'll be well served by Darian. She has already made some really exciting changes to our community development block grant program, and I think she'll bring those same kinds of ideas and innovations to Home Fund and the interim and other things that that you all are involved with.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, I think that rounds out introductions. Is there anyone that we missed? Okay, so that takes us to public comment. I have 4 folks signed up this evening. I have a 3-minute timer on my phone, and I'll hold it up when it gets to 30 seconds, and then you'll hear the time when it hits the 3 minutes. So I'm going to start with Edward Lind, and then we'll follow that by Rachel Yandon. So Kelly, can you please promote Edward?
Chair Cooper, Edward Lind is not in the attendees list. Shall we go next to Rachel?
Yes, and then Elizabeth Klinger will be following Rachel.
There is also no Rachel in the attendees. So we'll go to, and I also do not see Elizabeth.
Okay, so that takes us to Jimmy Madsen, and we'll do them and then see if anyone of the others pop up before we close out public comment. Okay, I think you're there, Jimmy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, got promoted. Thank you so much for that. Hello, everybody. Hope my connection's clear. For an opportunity, I just wanted to honor that Carrie's work in the city has done with the mitigation. I want to a potential need you all could take into consideration. The city's done a lot to support and pay for what's going on with the mitigation site itself. And I just wanted to ask this council, and I brought it to you as the Regional Housing Council. I hesitated to do so, but then thought better of it and had some encouragement. because of the nature of the mitigation site as a kind of a key.
Oops.
Yeah, so Jimmy was, oh, he's coming back. He's struggling. Jimmy, you're struggling with connection. So you left and then you just popped back in. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. Hopefully that'll stay. Hopefully you didn't miss much. Yeah, just speaking to the nature of the centrality of the mitigation site as a key element in the overall regional homelessness response, I just wanted to ask for some support to support Olympia with a little extra funding to finish putting in or start actually putting in beds and some storage totes for those particular individuals who are, as you know, some of the most chronic homeless we have, even though there's more that don't have that step of some stability like a mitigation site. So in order to help that place solidify that much more and be the model that we'd all like it to be even more, I would like to suggest and encourage and hope that someone or anyone on this panel can seek to help us with the additional 15 grand we need. I raised $12,000 from a private donor. We're going through CCS and we're looking to buy the beds, bed frames, mattresses, and some totes. It's not that much money per, and if it happens sooner than later, that would obviously be better.
Okay, we lost you again, Jimmy. You're back. You have about a minute left.
And I'm almost done, so that I can't hear you yet, so let me know if you can hear me.
You're scattered, but I think we got the gist. If you want to wrap up.
Yeah, just wrap it up. Basically, looking for more support to help the city and the region with this particularly key project. A little dollars goes a long way to really bring a lot of value to that site, namely beds. These are long-term beds that can be used over time. There's totes that can be used for a long time, and it's not that much money. We need another 15K, and I know.
You got 6 seconds if you want to wrap up sentence.
Yeah, just for bearing with that and also considering what can be done outside of the city with the approach to this and looking at the mitigation side as a key element in the overall thing. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for bearing with technology to be here this evening. Okay, so Kelly, do we have any of our other signups in attendance?
We do not, but we do have a hand raise, Lisa Gelati.
Okay. Folks okay with Lisa doing public comment since we didn't have everyone here? Okay. Okay, Lisa, go ahead. We'll bring you forward.
Can you hear me?
Lisa, I see you and I hear you.
Okay, perfect. Hi, Lisa Gelati with Build the Bus Home, and we run Shower Power Plus. I wanted to give a quick update and a little of information for you to mull around. So we, as an organization, decided to focus on one location at this time to revamp and reorganize some volunteer support. And people are moving on after a year of support. So, you know, it's kind of typical. And so I just wanted to let you know that we are operating at Capital Christian Center on the corner of College and Martin every Saturday. Showers begin at 10 and we take our last intake at 3 as we need to be out of the location by 5 for their church location. We're set up right by the Peace Center, which is next door to Red Lobster restaurant. And so we are looking for additional volunteer support. We're also in the process of searching for additional drivers that can drive a pickup truck, a 3/4 or 1-ton pickup with our trailer that we just got. It's a brand new 27-foot trailer with an ADA bathroom, and we're in the process of working out black water dumping And you might know that we've asked Lot to see if we can do direct dumping. So that's in process communication now. So we have discontinued the other 2 locations, Unity of Olympia, last one was yesterday, and St. Benedict's Church. So we're just at 1 location. We currently have our 2 vehicles. So the large trailer and the new trailer is getting phased in, and that will take over on the mid-November. And the big trailer is ready now to move on to another entity like yourselves or other cities that would like to consider purchasing some or all of our equipment. And the trailer can just be placed in a location without it being moved if you want to. Otherwise, it can be moved. Lots of options on that. So I know time is almost up. Thank you, Jim. And so if there's any questions or anything, please reach out to me, buildthebushome@gmail.com. And thank you very much for your time today. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions or responses from public comment this evening? Carrie, go ahead.
I'll just share that in relation to Jimmy's comment related to cots and beds at mitigation. Well, first of all, Jimmy, thank you again so much for your work to coordinate that donation. We met most recently this morning with Catholic Community Services and talked about partnering with them to help if they need additional funds as far as purchasing beds and cots. We'll work with them on that as much as we can. So Catholic Community Services does not have a full estimate for costs on that yet. So I don't know what our costs potentially would be. So, but we're working with them, and obviously we want to help stretch that donation as far as we can to support as many folks at mitigation as we can. So thank you again for your leadership in making that happen.
Yeah, I'll echo that. You know, frankly, if folks have faith communities that are looking for a way to help out in the community, this will be a great way to jump in during the holidays and raise a little bit of cash with your members. It's a a couple $100 for each unit, and it would be really would go a long way. So I would just throw that out there if anybody has any private ideas around fundraising for that, and we will continue to see what we can do as we move along. So thank you, Jimmy. Okay, so before I go on, I forgot to ask if everyone was okay with the agenda. So anyone have any issues with the agenda before I keep moving? Okay, thank you. We have an agenda. So that takes me, I need a motion to approve the September minutes.
I move to approve the September minutes as submitted.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any amendments or discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so that takes us to the hotel and rapid rehousing RFP recommendations from the funding group. Tom, tell us what we have.
Good evening, everyone. Tom Webster. So you may recall that we have received, the county through the Department of Commerce has received just under approximately $1.6 million in the new 1277 document recording fee. This is an initial allocation of this document recording fee that can be used to support hotel vouchers and rapid rehousing projects between now and June 30th of 2023. So with your approval last month, we put out an RFP to our community and had a 2-week turnaround time. So it was a short turnaround time to receive applications, but we tried to get the word out ahead of time that this was coming. We also tried to keep the application fairly straightforward, and applications were around no more than 4 pages in length plus the budget. We received 6 applications. Those applications were reviewed and scored by the Rhc technical team, who made recommendations to the funding work group. And the funding work group reviewed those recommendations this past week, and then are forwarding those recommendations to you for your final approval. With your approval, what we will do is then the next step is we need to submit an application to the Department of Commerce requesting funds for these projects. So the funds have been allocated for Thurston County, but in order to access these funds, we need to submit an application indicating how we intend to spend those funds. Once we have an approved application from the Department of Commerce, then we would proceed to the Board of County Commissioners to request approval to sign contracts with these agencies. So this is kind of one step in that process of submitting an application. So in your packet, you have a summary of the applications we received. So as I said, we received 6 applications. Sorry, let me. And for a total of around $2.3 million. So we did need to make some tough decisions to reduce the funding to just under $1.6 million in awards. So you can see the 6 agencies that submitted applications. And then we've tried to indicate the activity, whether this was primarily a rapid rehousing program they were proposing, or a hotel voucher program, or both. So you can see we had a mix. We had, and I'll just walk through these very high level and walk through the recommendations at a very high level. So Community Action Council made a request for $100,000 for rapid rehousing. And this was really an extension of an existing program that we funded, or this group funded and recommended for funding this past year to support rapid rehousing. So this would be an enhancement to an existing program serving around 10 households per month. Family Support Center submitted a proposal around hotel vouchers to continue hoteling. They are hoteling families. So once again, this is an expansion of an existing program, adding around 6 hotel rooms per night for families. Level Bounds here is a new organization that has not been funded by the Rhc in the past. So they submitted an application to do both rapid rehousing as well as hotel vouchers. The rapid rehousing proposal was not a low barrier approach and was not in compliance with the CHD guidelines, which need to operate with these funds. And so there was some questions around that element, but there was the proposal also included paying for hotel stays during the winter months. So this was not a year-round hotel rooms, but hotel rooms specifically in the Yelm area during the winter, the cold weather season. Olympia Mutual Aid Partners submitted the largest proposal for hotel vouchers, and they proposed kind of 2 elements for hoteling folks. One is to support those as under the scattered site program. So the 3 scattered site programs of the Chutes, Ensign Road, and Wheeler Nickerson, to helping folks if they need some hoteling, if they're transitioning to permanent housing, if they are being transferred into kind of substance use or behavioral health rehab or programs, if they've lost their shelter and they need a place to stabilize. So this was really kind of a stabilization approach for those in the scattered site. And then a second would be emergency hotel stays for up to 3 weeks if and after a homeless encampment is swept or cleared out. And those folks need a few weeks to stabilize before they determine where they're going to move on to. So you can see, they're proposing to serve 250 people under that first approach and up to 100 folks under that second approach. PCAF, Pierce County AIDS Foundation, was looking for funding to do rapid rehousing for 1 year. So this was providing rapid rehousing for 1 year, 12 months for 10 folks. They're doing, I would say it's a continuation of existing program. It's a little different, but they're doing other housing activities. And then Safe Place proposed to do both a combination of rapid rehousing and hoteling, primarily rapid rehousing of serving 10 to 14 households per month with rent or hotel leasing. So those were the applications received. The funding work group, or sorry, the technical team in reviewing these applications decided to prioritize those rapid rehousing activities, as that was seen as a more cost-effective approach to housing folks and a more permanent solution. So you'll see an emphasis that those projects that proposed rapid rehousing received closer to full funding, while those proposing hoteling did not receive, was not a recommendation for full funding. So priority was on rapid rehousing. The funding work group largely has recommend or approved or is passing on the recommendations of the technical team. The one difference that they did made is they did provide an additional $10,000 of funding to level bounds here. The tech team proposed $40,000 for level bounds here, and the funding work group proposed to increase that to $50,000, really wanting to support that organization, knowing this is a new organization getting off the ground, that they wanted to kind of support. Also wanted to support activities kind of outside the urban core, so wanting to support sheltering in the Elm area. So you can see the funding work group recommendations, recommending the full funding for CAC as a rapid rehousing, close to full funding of, but $400,000 for family support center, $50,000 for level bounds here, and that would primarily be for their hotel program, because that, as I indicated earlier, the rapid rehousing was not in line with CHG guidelines. Those are the state guidelines. Olympia Mutual Aid Partners, an award of $616,189, which is still pretty substantial, but about half of their original request. And certainly understand there would need to be some follow-up conversations to revise their proposal to determine how to, best utilize those resources between the two categories of hoteling that they proposed. Full funding, the PCAF request is rapid rehousing, and then Safe Place, a reduction in their request, primarily as rapid rehousing, but because they were doing a little hoteling, and they had one small request for support to support some shelter funding that was not eligible under this. So we reduced that amount to reduce the shelter funding request. So I know I went through that fairly quickly, but happy to answer any questions. We also have members of the funding work group here who can weigh in and with their perspectives as well. But with that, I'll open it up for questions or reactions.
Okay, I have JW and then Michael.
Thank you. Tom, I'm sorry that I didn't make the funding group meeting. Apologize for that. I would have probably gotten my question answered then. Level Bounds here is doing great work for our community. I'm just curious though, had they already established a connection with our one and only hotel in Yelm? And did they have a rate like we've seen of the other hotels when we've been working with them?
You are testing my memory. So I don't know if any of the other reviewers recall that specifically, but if you give me a minute, I'll open another application and try to answer that question for you.
Okay.
Okay. Answer coming, Michael.
What can you tell us a little bit about Olympia Mutual Aid Partners as an organization? Like, are they a nonprofit? I've only heard of them on social media, and I've seen some things that show like some of the folks who were with Just Housing might be involved with it, but do they have, the institutional structure to be able to grant make and cut checks and do all the typical things that a nonprofit would need to have in terms of accountability for spending the dollars?
Yeah, good question. I'm gonna Keely may be able to weigh in with a little bit more detail. So OLIMAP is a new organization. They are the contractor that the county is contracted with to manage the scattered site program. So they are, the county does have a current contract with them. They do have a fiscal sponsor as they kind of build the capacity of their organization. They do have a fiscal sponsor, Angels for Angels, that they work with, that we have is who the contract is with, the county's contract, because they have all the fiscal capacity and the 501c3 designation as OLIMAP works to kind of build that capacity so they can be independent. But currently they are working with a fiscal sponsor. And I'll let Keely can maybe perhaps provide a little more insight into the history of OLIMAP, if I can put you on the spot, Keely.
Sure. What's important to know is that they are currently handling several federal contracts through the Scattered Site Pilot Program and have been working incredibly hard in the last 3 months since they've stood up the Scattered Site pilot program to build capacity and have done a really excellent job. Pretty amazing in 3 months period of time. And I don't know exactly what the intention of the other question is around Just Housing membership. Olympia Mutual Aid Partners is a separate organization than some of the Facebook groups. So there is a Facebook group called Olympia Mutual Aid, and that is not related. That is not the program. That is Olympia Mutual Aid Partners. They're separate things. One is a community thing, and I don't know if there's any. Sometimes there's some confusion around that. But this is separate from Just Housing. Some of the members, it's actually fairly large staff because they're managing 3 of the sites, and I think there's about 3 to 4 staff members per site plus some admin team, and so they have some, like 3 of the members were associated in the past with working with Just Housing Olympia, but they're completely separate with completely different mission, vision, values, and what they do. So
Okay.
I hope that's helpful.
That's helpful. Thanks.
Well, I'll just add that the leadership there cut their teeth working for the city during right away at the beginning of the pandemic and really proved their worth. So it's really exciting to see how much they've grown. So, Joan, wait, let me see if Tom has an answer to JW first.
I also comment about that and what he's going to talk about.
Okay. So yes, in their application, they identified the Yelm Prairie Hotel as the hotel that Level Bounds here will intend to use. So,
Tom, also in the application, I remember, weren't they also going to do something in the north section of, I'm all blanking on the county below the Lewis County. Weren't they going to do something there?
They had intended, they have identified in their application, they identified an organization in McKenna, which is in Pierce County, to house folks, but that is a high barrier kind of housing program that would not comply with the CHC guidelines. So it was a program that they identified in McKenna where they were hoping to provide rent assistance as kind of one element of their program.
And this money couldn't be used for the rent assistance that their request was for?
I'm sorry, my dogs are barking. Someone's at the door. My apologies. So they could use this for rent assistance if they found another provider that was an eligible use of those funds.
And I think we were happy to see this application from South County, and also to encourage them. They're new, and that the only part they're biting off, it's a big one, but is not for year round, but for winter. And we all know how we scramble for winterizing our community. So those were some of the reasons that we did that. JW, does that help?
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Joan and Tom.
Good questions. Any other questions or comments about the proposal? Well, then I guess I'm looking for a motion to approve the hotel voucher and rapid rehousing application funding recommendations at the level of $1,584,399.
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I would like to say something.
Go ahead. Sorry, did I miss you?
No, I just wanted to thank the technical team for doing this quick turnaround. I mean, this was really quick and in a really tight timeline. So thank you so much for your flexibility and being able to do this.
Yeah, and I'll echo that for the organizations that scrambled to get in an application too, Commissioner Mejia. It's a a big lift for everyone on all sides of the conversation. So very good. Thank you for that. Any further conversation? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, you have a recommendation to apply for, Tom. And then can you just get, before we move on, we'll get another funding allotment beyond this. Can you tell us a little more about the future of this fund?
Yeah, so we're expecting Commerce to issue additional funding early in 2022. They're working through a stakeholdering process now to determine how they want to allocate the remainder of the funds. And so we expect in early 2022 to receive additional guidance from Commerce and additional funding allocation.
And these will remain at the statewide level versus coming to us through the recording fees at our counter. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, this is money that will be allocated from the state.
Okay.
To us. The hotel and rapid rehousing was a one-time allocation, but this is a permanent source of ongoing funding that we expect year after year to receive.
Great. Okay, anything else on this topic? Okay, so we'll move to the next topic, which is the Martin Way and Carpenter Road project update. We have a lot of work that's been happening. So Keely, I think you're taking the lead on this.
Correct.
Take it away.
All right. So I'm pleased to report that we were able to turn in a complete application to Community Planning and Economic Development on Monday, this Monday, the 25th of October, to move forward with a proposed temporary safe parking project at Martin Way and Carpenter Road to relieve pressure off of Providence St. Peter's Hospital and other ancillary medical providers there along that corridor, which we see as crucial, as we all see as crucial and urgent in matter. We are assured that, community planning and economic development are going to be expediting to code and ordinance the approval process of this application. We will be holding a public information meeting next Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. online. We have noticed the public and send out letters to the neighbors and businesses within 1,000 feet of the property. Due to the pandemic COVID-19 emergency, we will not be having an in-person public information meeting, but it will be held online to be also as accessible as possible. We have asked all interested parties to please pre-submit your questions so that we can assure that your questions are answered in a timely manner. We will have panelists online ready to answer questions that will be key stakeholders and players in this process. The panelists do include, we'll have Shelley Slaughter, Director of Public Health, myself, Tom Webster, we have Commissioner Mejia, Councilmember Cooper, we have Sheriff John Snaza, Ty Gundel from Olympia Mutual Aid Partners, Jay Burney from City of Olympia, and of course, the Executive Director of Providence St. Peter's Hospital, Darren Goss, will be attending and answering questions that night. We've received quite a number of pre-submitted questions, and they seem to be pretty standard, or they're pretty consistent, the concerns and questions that are coming from the public. So we'll make sure to address all of those as we can and try to get to all of them during that night. And if we have time, we'll be monitoring the chat also and being able to answer hopefully some questions in real time. So that is moving forward. We are hoping that we can move swiftly and thoughtfully forward in this project. It was a huge group effort over here at the county and with the City of Olympia and with Olympia Mutual Aid Partners in creating this application. So I have huge gratitude to my counterparts at the county and my colleagues and friends at the City of Olympia and Olympia Mutual Aid Partners. For the record, City of Lacey was invited to be panelists on the public information meeting, but decided to leave comment instead. And I think that's about it. And I was going to let Tom cover the MOU.
So there is Olympia, City of Olympia and Thurston County have negotiated a memorandum of understanding around the Martin Way and Carpenter Road and kind of the broader safe parking. And so this is really a two-phase MOU. The first phase is around support for the Martin Way Carpenter Road site for a period of 6 to 7 months to move. Right now, we're talking about 13 to 15 vehicles. Is that correct, Keely? Can we say that? Maybe a little bit more.
Yep, we've written the application to be able to, if to code, to fire code, meeting the parameters that has been set out by the fire marshal to, depending on the size of the vehicles, could move from 13 up to about 18 vehicles, depending on the size.
Okay, sorry not to step on, put my foot into my mouth there. So the first phase of the MOU is focused on the Martin Way and Carpenter Road site, with the second phase being focused on the acquisition of a property off Franz Anderson Road as a long-term temporary solution. So kind of a 2 to 3 year solution. And so there's the MOU lays out an approach for the city and the county to share in the acquisition and initial development costs of that property, with those jurisdictions supporting coming to the Regional Housing Council for the operations support for the operations of that property. So that MOU will be coming before the Board of County Commissioners next Tuesday for approval, and I believe also next week for the Olympia City Council, but I'm less clear on the timing of that, but I know that is coming up for council approval as well. So I believe staff have agreed on the language for that. So I look to, I don't know if Ramiro, the county manager, wants to add anything to that, or anyone from Olympia has any more information about the timing of when that will be brought before your council.
No, you just about cover it between you and Kelly. Thank you.
Okay. Carrie, did you have anything?
Well, I was just going to share, Tom, I don't know off the top of my head the timing for us with Olympia City Council. I'll look into it and follow up.
I think Jay told me it's coming, is the first, on Monday, it's the 1st. It's our meeting next week, so.
Great.
The other piece I will add about that MOU is it does include an agreement that around enforcement of parking on Ensign Road, so there's not a return of vehicles to that part. So that's included in that MOU, that Olympia will enforce parking on that upper section of Ensign Road, so there's not a return of vehicles blocking access to the hospital.
Okay, good update. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Lenny.
I'll just voice the same concern that I've given to all of you in writing, or at least all of the electeds and Ramiro in writing. I think it's a huge mistake to not be having a public hearing on this. The public that I'm hearing from, and I'm hearing from a lot of people, they're frustrated and mad that they're not getting to address the elected officials that are making these decisions, other than by sending in written questions. Huge mistake on the part of the county, in my opinion, and I just wanted to voice that. They already know how I feel. I've already given it to them in writing, but wanted this committee to hear it as well.
Thank you, Lenny. Other questions or comments? So I will just say, you know, to Lenny's point, this is the most difficult time during a project, and I know we're dealing with it with a move of a site in the city right now. And what I will say is every single time that we've gone through this process and committed to a strong partnership with the neighbors, we've had really positive outcomes overall. Now, of course, nothing is ideal in this conversation at all. So I just wanted to say that out loud, that it's really tough and it's really unfortunate that no one wants our lowest income neighbors next to them. But I know that we can do this, and I know that we can get it right. We have the right people on the team. So keep giving feedback and keep sending ideas to Keely, and we'll make sure that we do our best to accommodate all the concerns. And I speak for everyone, I think, when I say that. Any other comments or questions on this topic? Okay. Oh, go ahead, Carolyn.
If I might just throw one thing out. The last time Lacey had a public meeting on this. It ended up running like 3 hours. And I would encourage you all, if it feels like you've got a lot of people there who really, really, have submitted a lot of questions, and you've got people on the call there, not to let the clock be the determination of when you end the meeting, because I think people really need a sense that they're being heard. I think that really helps tamp the emotions down. And because there was so much built up emotion in Lacey in the past, when we looked at having a tent mitigation site there and an RV site in Northeast Lacey, that undercurrent is still there. So I think you need to be aware of it and give people their head as much as you can within reason.
Yeah, that's good advice. In fact, it makes me think, if there's a record from that meeting that Lacey has, it would be good to transmit to the county with your input, just so that we continue that conversation, because I think that's, the good thing about this property is that it has been vetted for a long time. And so bringing those voices into the new conversation would be a place that I would be open to as well. So.
Scott, do you know if we have that? Or Kelly?
There may be a video. I don't know if there's minutes from that though.
Okay. Well, whatever, if there's just a link to the meeting, that's at least saying, bringing that forward and folks can check it out. And, to Carolyn's point, we want to make sure people are heard and try to accommodate everything we can. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so that takes us to
Can I say something?
Oh, go ahead, Carolina.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, we're having this public information meeting to try to fight against so much of the misinformation that's been put out there already. I go to monthly meetings with the Providence Hospital, as well as the business owners that are currently being affected by this, and they are frustrated and they are over it. And that's why the county is stepping in with the city of Olympia to try to partner and do something about this. Because at the end of the day, every minute that the ambulance takes to get to the hospital, it's putting someone's life in danger. And this is a regional issue. And we're trying to put this information session out there. One, to hear the questions that are coming up because of the misinformation that went out, and to try to address some of those questions. Now, no decisions have been being taken right at that moment. We are just hearing the questions and comments that are out there. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I feel like we're all partners in this, and we should be coming up as a front. It hasn't really been like that. So that's why we're having this information session, is to put out the correct information out there on what this project actually is.
Thank you, Carolina, and we appreciate the county's leadership. Okay, so that takes us to our technical team work group updates. We're going to start with the permanent supportive housing plan. I think, Tom, can you take this agenda item and just move us through the right people for the right item?
Yep. So following up on last month when we presented the permanent supportive housing strategic framework, I'm going to share my screen again so you can see. We've made a few additions to address the comments we have received. So the highlighted text indicates what has been added to the framework. So we tried to add some text to respond to Council Member Althauser's request for a little more context around the 150 to 200 units. So try not to be too verbose, but try to add some additional comments there. We also did receive comments from Mayor Komet, who provided kind of more extensive comments. We did not incorporate all of his comments into actual edits, but we took those and can pass those along. He did ask that we include reference to the city of Tumwater and the Housing Authority seeking pursuit of a hotel in the Tumwater area. So we've included reference to that. That certainly would be a valuable if that project is able to move forward and kind of work with the Port of Olympia to see that to fruition. That would be certainly something that would be a benefit to our community. So we've included that. And there was one other edit that he just wanted kind of clarification around in terms of other funding sources to cover acquisition and development costs when we were referencing future county home fund funding. So those were the changes. His other comments, he asked about including an appendix of local developers and nonprofits. You know, that's something we could do if appropriate. I would be a little nervous about leaving someone out. We certainly want to attract other developers from Seattle, so wouldn't want that to be seen as a comprehensive list. He also had comments around seeing permanent supportive housing as one piece as a broader need for more affordable housing in our community. So those are some of the edits kind of based on the comments we received this past month. So happy to kind of take any questions on kind of any of those changes. And then following that, I'm going to ask Ramiro to present on the next item related to the framework.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there any questions on what Tom provided?
Go ahead, Michael.
Michael.
Yeah, I would just say about the sentence about the hotel in Tumwater that everybody probably saw the story in the Olympian that was referencing that, and I think we're all probably we're disappointed to read some of the things in there, but the only thing I'd say about that is I'm glad we're including it in here because we've always stood ready as a partner and have renewed those communications to say, hey, if the will is there, we're ready to help and we can offer resources and technical assistance, and we're excited about this and still want to try to pursue that. So I'm glad that we're leaving that sentence in there because I don't think it's something that we're quite ready to give up on because I think that would be such a tremendous asset in the community. So that's all I want to say about that sentence.
Let us know, Michael, if there's anything that the rest of the council can do to help get that unstuck. Okay, Romero,
yeah, will
take
do.
it.
Thanks.
Thank you. And so let me take you back to when we were having this conversation as to how an interlocal agreement should be coming together. And there was a lot of conversations, the regional approach. I think we need to consolidate the efforts as to how we need to make an impactful, at least an impact to the issues that we have related to housing and homelessness. Even in that time, as you may recall, one of my biggest concerns would be the staffing and the impact of all this work, this great work, is having on county staff. So this is not necessarily new that I have been bringing this to you. So the conversation today is a formal request to the RHC related to staffing. And that is really aligned to Section 7 of the interlocal agreement that all of us signed. It does acknowledge the need for additional staffing to continue this great work the RHC already is doing. So the last thing that from my perspective, we want to do is perhaps stopping or hampering the progress of this great work for the RHC because we don't have the capacity to continue to support this group. Great conversation. We're committed from the county's point of view to continue to support this effort because it's an investment, I believe. But also it gets to a point at which we need to have conversations related to staffing. So here it comes. We have come to a juncture in which we are needing one full-time position, at least for the next 2.5 years, to help us overcome, some of the upcoming issues that we're going to be dealing with, specific projects. We're working on an MOU with the City of Olympia for the RV parking, great discussion. And also leading to finding a more permanent location by purchasing our property, which requires a lot of staffing levels. And also, we're having a conversation with the city of Lacey as to how we can partner in purchasing a motel. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done behind the scenes of that requires staffing. So the request today is for one full-time, and we have presented a proposal, which I already shared with the city managers, by the way, to allocate the cost of the full-time position based on the percentages that we already agreed on the interlocal agreement. So on the last page of this document on your agenda, it speaks about what the percentages will be. Is 55.4% will come from the county, 18.1% comes from Lacey as well as Olympia, and 8.3% will come from the city of Tumwater. We exchanged a couple of emails with the city managers, and I believe we're going to have a meeting in a couple of weeks just to hopefully gel this request. If there is a consensus from the Regional Housing Council to really come up with a solution related to staffing levels the county needs at this point. Questions?
Okay, questions for Romero? So I'll just throw out what Jay Burney and I talked about last week, and that's that, you know, from our understanding, we have this new plan that Tom just presented, and it's going to take some work. And as Romero said, we need to make sure that we staff our work accordingly. Carrie has just, is leaving on about a 250 unit lifespan of work that's underway, and it takes a lot of work, and he can tell us how much time those projects will take to meet that new stretch goal. And so what Jay and I saw was that we have, the city of Olympia has set aside $2 million of our ARPA funds for what we believe is this proposal as a whole. And we have also heard that Tumwater has set aside $1 million and that the county is setting aside $5 million. And so Olympia's suggestion is that we pool the funds that we're putting from ARPA into this whole project or to this whole proposal, and then take the admin and staffing costs out of that. We know that there will be other things that come with pre-development that will need to be done as we get moving as well. We just don't have other funds right now to set aside for staffing, but we think that it's an appropriate project use of that pool of funds that we have all started to talk about. And so I just wanted to put that out as a softball. Olympia's committed, but it's going to come out of the $2 million that we've set aside for this conversation. And I hope that we have done enough work to have everyone commit and pool the funds so that we can get moving forward. Michael?
Yeah, we had not a conversation with the full council about this, but I had the opportunity to talk to John and the mayor as well as Councilmember Kathy about it the other day. And I think we all have a desire to see every dollar maximized to the extent that it can be to create beds, right? So every dollar that then goes to staff to support those things. I always am like, I wish that dollar could go to a bed, but we have to be realistic that, it requires staff to do these things. I think what would be helpful on our end is to just have that very clear articulated vision of what the precise job duties would be for this person. We haven't really discussed the exact thing you just discussed, Councilmember Cooper, about what bucket it would come from, but I would imagine that we would have to look at ARPA as well, just because it's, an outlay for staff that was not anticipated in our budget, but we have some flexibility there. So I would imagine that would probably be the bucket we would look at as well. But again, I'd need to circle back with the mayor and John to talk about those things in greater depth.
Thank you. Carolyn?
Yeah. Well, this is, the first time hearing about it was with the agenda that we just got. So I'll be glad to take it back to council and see what they say about it. We have not committed solidly our ARPA funds, so that perhaps they would be willing to consider that, but I'm not going to get out ahead of the council on that.
They appreciate that. Okay, well, it sounds like because you're proposing it, you have a path for your portion, Romero. So right now you have a soft yes from two other partners and a to be determined from the fourth. So is that good enough to keep you moving forward?
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Cooper. But I was hoping also to have really an acknowledgement by the Regional Housing Council that in fact staffing is needed and is outlined on the interlocal agreement. And certainly with an acknowledgement, I believe I will work with the city managers to come up with what will be a good financial strategy.
Okay. So can I get a thumbs up of consensus that we acknowledge the need and as an RHC would like to support this staffing need moving forward? Okay, Romero, I have unanimous consensus.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. Okay, Tom, you have more.
Yeah, next go to Keely on the DEI RFP.
And I apologize, my internet died at home, so I'm on my phone now, which is why I disappeared. But here I am. So we did, to remind us, the DEI RFP is specific to the homeless crisis response system and is based on the Regional Housing Council's recommendations to set aside $150,000 to address this issue. It's also, state of Washington has required all homeless crisis response systems to show progress, and there are outcomes measured for reducing disparities around basically racism within each homeless crisis response system with regards to how individuals are prioritized into projects, et cetera. So we released the RFP, and we are anticipating initially that we were anticipating the RFP closing period would be on the 8th of November. However, we discovered that and it was pointed out that in our categories for agencies and individuals who could apply, the for-profit category was left out, and that was an accident. So we have corrected that in the language of the RFP, and we have extended our deadline. And so those deadlines will now be on for final submittal will be on the 12th of November rather than the 5th. Excuse me, the 5th was the original closing date, and now it's the 12th. We are currently in a process to just figure out a equitable way to create a review panel. We are going outside the normal using the technical team to go through the review process, and rather coming up with a process to choose a review panel of subject matter experts, either through lived experience or through working in DEI themselves. And we want that review panel to be chosen with as an equitable process as possible. So I am engaging in some consultation on how to make that happen. We would be, and so I don't know what the criteria is at this point, but I'd be glad to fill you in as soon as we have that developed. Just really want to make sure that this is not just I hate to use the word tokenizing, but a process that is meaningful to the system and doesn't cause extra harm to the homeless crisis response system or any of our stakeholders or those that we're serving within the system who are Black, Indigenous, people of color by this process. So excited to see the applications as they come in, and we'll absolutely be glad to update you on the review panel as soon as possible.
Okay, questions for Keely on that? Keep up the good work. Okay. One more, Tom?
Yeah, last one, very briefly, the home fund. I don't think, can't remember in our September meeting where we notified that, as I think folks know, that the county set a public hearing that was going to happen in October. That has been pushed back to November 23rd is when the public hearing on the home fund will take place. We're still accepting public comment on that. I know jurisdictions are working on responses to the letter that came from the county commissioner. So really just wanted to acknowledge that the move of that public hearing to November 23rd. I don't know if Ramiro has anything else to add on that, but really just a brief update on that new schedule.
No, not much to add other than I'm hoping to receive, the city's response before the November 23rd. Thank you.
Let me make sure I heard it. You would like to have written response from the cities prior to the public hearing, not at the public hearing.
Either way.
Okay, you're okay with either way. Okay,
yeah.
Great. If you respond before it gets in the packet. Okay, anything else on those topics? Anything else from your end, Tom? No?
That's it for me.
Okay, great. So I have an Rhc retreat update. So I've been going to the task forces of the Housing Action Team. I've now been to 4, and I think I have 1 or 2 left. Really great conversations. We are so lucky to have some great advocates and providers and even private sector partners in the Housing Action Team and its subcommittees. I'm really happy with the level of engagement in the conversation and the interest in partnering with the Regional Housing Council, whatever that may look like. A big eye-opener for me, just in the work that I've been doing in the last 10 years, was going to the senior housing group and how much of a conversation that is, and how big of a population of chronically homeless people that is, or how much of a portion of that population are senior citizens, and how we don't really talk about it probably as much as we might. So I one of my thoughts in going forward just from that tidbit is, how do we acknowledge the senior population as a population to focus on without having them be commingled in other populations. So it's kind of just an interesting tidbit, nothing to take anywhere. So what we talked about at the planning call this month is that Keely and I are going to work and try to get bring an outline of a retreat, maybe even a facilitator to one of our winter meetings, so that we can move forward with the planning and all be on the same page for something probably in the spring around that retreat. So any questions from me on that? Romero.
I would really like to encourage the RHC also to engage the Thurston Thrives coordinating executive team on these conversations, if I may.
Okay, I'll bring that to our retreat planning conversation. If I remember right, we've tried and we didn't get a meeting, so we can keep trying.
Could, as
Carolyn?
long as they're related topic, I just want to make people aware that the chamber is having a special forum. I believe it's the 11th, I want to say, of November, with Governor Chris Gregoire, but it's on chronic homelessness. And the chamber is starting to make more of a concerted effort on dealing with this. And so I'm wondering if we wouldn't do well to invite a couple of, maybe Dave Shafford and Doug Ma, and perhaps one or both of the co-chairs of the Thurston Thrives Executive Committee to meet with us and talk about a little bit about this, about how our work might intersect.
Yeah, so the meeting with the chamber and Governor Gregoire is on the 10th at 11:30.
Okay.
The chamber is promoting that, so you should be able to find. And then, David's point in the email to me, David Schaffer, was that it's kind of a call to action. This is actually a big private sector conversation that the governor's been leading in King County, and I'm excited for it to come to Thurston County. So good suggestion, Carolyn. Folks should attend that, and maybe it's a good springboard for a conversation with leadership from the chamber around housing in the future. And I continue to be open to having a sit down with the Thurston Thrives Executive Committee about the conversations we're having. So last I heard, they were going to give us dates. So that's been months.
Well, now we have this new effort, so maybe. Yeah, I can try to push from within on that too. So.
And I will forward the link once I can find it for that registration on the 10th to folks. I didn't see anything about virtual, so I'm not sure if there's going to be kid vaccines before that day. So, okay. So anything else around HAT and Rhc Retreat? Okay, thank you. So that takes us to just one item I have under good of the order, and then we'll open it up. So we're looking at the calendar, and we're scheduled to meet Wednesday afternoon of Thanksgiving week for our next meeting. I know there's no school that day, and a lot of folks are moving their schedules around that week. So wanted to suggest and see if it would work to combine our December and November meetings and have it at 4 o'clock on December 8th. So wanted to check and see. I've got a thumbs up from Lacey. I've got a thumbs up from Yelm, a thumbs up from Tumwater, and a thumbs up from the county. So our leads can make it. And so let's go ahead then and shift the calendar around to cancel the standing meeting for November and December and have a special meeting on December 8th at 4 p.m. Does that, everybody agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Kelly and Nicole will get us squared away on our calendars with that. Anything else for the good of the order? Michael.
Yeah, maybe I should have mentioned this earlier, but in Tumwater, we had a work session where we discussed the countywide home fund, and it was a really positive discussion. And that was a work session we unanimously as a council indicated to the mayor that we supported the countywide home fund. So I'd expect the mayor to write a letter and make some supportive comments at the hearing. So I just wanted to share that conversation because it was really positive step for us. A lot of support from our council for that measure.
Great, thank you, Michael. So I have Scott and then Keely.
Thank you. So I want to kind of go back to the permanent supported housing work group. And maybe this would help really the whole region. So we mentioned the American Rescue Plan Act, and we use a range of $8 to $20 million. And City Council's indicated they're willing to do their full ARPA for permanent supportive housing. It would be good for us all to acknowledge what level. I think, Councilmember Cooper, you mentioned $2 million from Olympia. It would be helpful, I think, if we identify what that amount actually is. So if it's $2 million from Olympia or what percentage from Tumwater, also from the county, so we actually know what volume of money we're working with. So
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, just as a recommendation, maybe at the next RHC meeting, we could come up with those numbers.
Yeah, okay. I think that's great, Scott. The only number I don't think we've heard is Lacey's.
Well, I think in our letter, we articulated we'd be willing to do the full 100%. We were at that point asking everyone to pool their ARPA dollars in to deal with permanent supportive housing. So that'd be $6.85 million.
I didn't read it that way, so that's amazing. Awesome. So, Tom, do you want to massage the text in that, or do you want to leave room for growth?
Yeah, I can certainly put in those numbers. I just wanted to make sure that all the jurisdictions, we had heard discussions around those numbers, and I didn't want to kind of get too far in front if those were kind of final official approved numbers, because I know there's still discussions going on. So as long as I hear word that that jurisdictions are comfortable with me putting in specific numbers tied to your jurisdiction, I'm happy to do that. But I was just hesitant to name specific numbers until I had a little more certainty from each jurisdiction on, what their actual commitment was versus kind of the last I heard it was more kind of discussion based. So that's my.
Yeah, well, and I think it largely is like soft placeholders, Tom, to your point. So why don't I suggest that Romero in his meeting with the managers around the staffing kind of figure out where everyone is on that. Is that okay, Romero? Okay. Thanks for bringing it up the way you did, Scott. Okay, Keely.
Just two quick things. Am I frozen?
No, I can hear you.
One, I spoke with the sub-regional planning manager. You can hear me. I'll turn off my video. I apologize. I'm just having some significant issues with my technology. I met with the sub-regional planning manager of the King County Regional Homeless Authority, Alexis Mercedes Rink. And we had a preliminary discussion about their process in regionalizing their efforts and what did that look like. We're going to meet one more time, and then I've invited her to speak with us or to attend one of our meetings. And it was a really excellent, helpful conversation. So I'm looking forward to moving forward in a relationship with the Regional Homelessness Authority from King County. And then secondly, we start our Built for Zero process on Monday. It's our learning collaborative. So Tom, myself, Ariel Benson from the county, and then other members for sure will be on those meetings to start that process. So we'll be able to give you a report of what that looks like at our next Regional Housing Council meeting.
Wonderful. Well, and Keely and I talked about having a panel of folks from King County to tell us what they've been up to. So maybe sometime right after the first of the year, we can get that scheduled, and it'll be a good launch, a good pre-conversation for our retreat.
Perfect.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
No.
Well, again, we did more than most bodies do in an hour and a half. This was a significant meeting, and that's like 4 in a row. So I'm really glad we've moved into making hard decisions. I'm proud to be working with all of you. So thank you for being here tonight, and we are adjourned. Have a good one.
Thanks.